sometimes to learn to be who you are, you have to be somebody else. Nothing? Okay. I learned that when I was 48 years old. I was fired from yet another corporate gig, and I figured I needed to do something else with my life, so I decided to try stand-up comedy. Well, I Googled it, and turned out there was an open mic in Northeast Philly. Yeah, my mother was not Mufasa either. And it was the Northeast Philly Comedy Cabaret. Has anyone ever been there? It's on the website. They brag they're next to Faulkner Hyundai. I don't know why that's important, but it's at the Ramada Inn. And I was 48. I was terrified. I walked in, and what I saw there was about 30 or 40 young white men. And they were like scribbling in notebooks and avoiding eye contact. And you had to put your name on a list, but I didn't want to put my real name. So I made up a name, Rose Wild. Because Rose Wild could be gutsy and bawdy. And I put my name on the list, and they go in order. And I think I was last. And so I was listening to all these young white Northeast Philly males who were sort of obsessed with hostility towards women and bodily fluids. So they were edgy, a lot of bawdy and gutsy didn't really cut it, because it was hour after hour of like pearl necklaces and rust. I had to look this stuff up. I'm as edgy as a marshmallow peep. It just was. But I did okay, I guess. But there was this little crowd of guys, and Chip knows them, and for some reason I wanted them to approve of me. And as anyone who's gone through 7th grade knows, the more you want approval, the less likely you are to get it. But it was this little crowd, and let me try to explain. They kind of hung out together. They had their own comedy troupe. They called themselves TDTF, which stood for Too Drunk to Fuck. And they would book shows in abandoned buildings and condemned bars. This is when I wanted them. I want, there was, let me explain, who they were. Like John, he was funny, but he was like a 35-year-old guy who still hadn't figured out that he wasn't going to get the stripper to come home with him by reciting entire episodes of Scooby-Doo. These were not men who understood women, is what, there was Danny, he was all coked up the first time I met him. He came kind of, hey, Rose, want to watch me pee? And it's like, well, of course, but, hashtag me too. The point is I wanted them to like me, and they didn't. And they didn't like women, and they used to say to me, women can't do comedy. Women aren't funny. You're not funny. This is what they said to me, and I wanted to prove I was funny, and I showed up every week, and they never thought I was funny. And then what happened was, before Facebook, there were Yahoo groups. Do you remember that? And there was a Philly comic Yahoo group, and they all got kicked out of it because they were too abusive. Is that the light, really? Ugh. All right, I'm going to hurry up. And so they started their own Yahoo group, Drunk Philly Comics, and this group, TDTF, had cut an album, and they had an album cover, and first they posted it, and for some reason, I don't know why, I really wanted to draw dicks on it. I was a 48-year-old woman with a husband and a child. I don't know why, but I wanted to draw a dick on their faces. But I couldn't do that as myself, so I created a little person called Mr. Dribble. And Mr. Dribble just drew dicks, and then Mr. Dribble was just so badass. Like anything they would post, Mr. Dribble had something to say about it. Not even clever. It was like, you suck. It wasn't even. But it was like, Rose Wild couldn't do that. Margie Winter couldn't. Like my hands would literally shake before I would type these mean things. And I mean, really mean things. Like I don't call people like ass fucking midgets. Like I don't talk that way. But Mr. Dribble did. And now here was what was weird, that these guys who hated me loved Mr. Dribble. Like, they loved him. Like, every time Mr. Dribble would post, there'd be this flurry of, oh, my God, Mr. Dribble's the funniest thing in Philly. You know, Mr. Dribble. They had contests, who's the real Mr. Dribble? And I wasn't even one of the contestants. And the light is on, so I'm going to get right to the end. Steve was the edgiest of the edgy boys. And I wanted him to like me. And he hated me, but I mean, you know, and there's something, I don't know, some of you women are probably still in this phase where you find the most depressed, desperate, sad, and you think that somehow you can magically goddess heal him with your bubble. Yeah, let me save you a lot of time. It ain't happening. But, you know, I just somehow wanted him, and he didn't. And we're sitting in the bar one day, and Steve's saying, oh, I know who Mr. Dribble is, and he thinks it's this other guy, and he's telling me why. And I was like, it's not. And he said, do you know who it is? And I said, yeah, I do. He said, who is it? And I just, like, grabbed his face. I said, open your fucking eyes. And then he knew, and he leaned over and he kissed me on the mouth. And so my point is, you could look at this as these men are pigs, they're stupid, they only thought it was funny when they thought it was a man, and that would all be true, but I think there's a deeper message, and that is, I needed to find my edge. Sometimes you have to be somebody else to figure out who you are.